A turboprop plane is cruising calmly over the mountains of northern Pakistan. Inside the cockpit, the captain is mid-sentence, making a routine announcement to the passengers. 40 seconds later, his aircraft will flip onto its back, plunge over 5,000 feet, and the crew will have no idea why. This isn't a story about a single broken part. It's a story about 3 tiny, unrelated failures that lined up perfectly, like a lock clicking open, to create a type of emergency that had never been documented before in the entire history of this aircraft. By the end, investigators would call it exceptionally difficult for any pilot to have survived. Here's how it happened. December 7th, 2016. Pakistan International Airlines Flight 661, a twin-engine ATR-42 turboprop, takes off from the mountain town of Chitral, bound for Islamabad. 47 souls on board, families, a regional government official, members of a local royal family, and a well-known singer-turned-religious figure traveling with his wife. In the cockpit, a young trainee first officer is at the controls for route practice, with the experienced captain supervising beside him and a third pilot riding the jump seat to observe. Nothing about this flight looks unusual. The skies are clear. The aircraft has flown over 18,000 hours without major incident. Cruising at altitude, an alert flashes. A fault in the propeller's electrical control system on the left engine. It's the kind of warning crews train for constantly. Annoying, but rarely dangerous. The crew runs the checklist. They reset the system. The warning reappears. They try again, 3 times, before giving up and simply switching the system off. It's a frustrating, garden-variety problem. Following standard procedure, the captain quietly takes over the controls himself. Then, minutes later, the real problem reveals itself. The left engine's power readout drops to 0. The captain calmly declares an engine failure and runs the shutdown procedure, something pilots train for in simulators all the time. He shuts off fuel, secures the engine. Routine. Manageable. Except this is where the situation stops behaving like anything written in any manual. To understand what happens next, you need to know one thing about turboprop engines. When an engine fails, the crew feathers the propeller, turning the blades edge-on to the wind so they stop spinning and stop creating drag. It's a basic safety step. On Flight 661, it silently failed. Unknown to the crew, oil meant to drive that feathering system was being blocked by debris lodged inside an internal valve. Debris that investigators would later determine had likely been sitting there since some long-ago maintenance job, completely undetected. Without proper feathering, the dead propeller began windmilling, getting violently spun by the oncoming air instead of slowing down. And because a tiny pin inside a safety device called the overspeed governor had already snapped, again from some earlier undocumented repair, there was nothing left to control how fast that propeller could spin, or at what angle its blades sat. The result? A runaway propeller acting almost like a giant air brake bolted onto one side of the aircraft, yanking it sideways. The crew has no idea any of this is unfolding mechanically. All they know is the plane is dragging hard to the left, and no amount of muscle on the rudder is fixing it. The captain shoves the right engine to full power, trying to balance it out, a logical move that, tragically, makes things worse. Airspeed keeps bleeding away. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the rogue propeller's spin collapses on its own. The drag vanishes in an instant. But the captain had been fighting so hard against the pull that the moment it disappeared, the plane snapped violently in the opposite direction. The aircraft flips onto its back, barrel rolls, and dives nose toward the ground for over 5,000 feet, about 24 seconds of pure free fall, before the shaken crew manages to wrestle the wings level again. Cockpit voice recordings capture what you'd expect: panicked breathing, trembling voices, pilots desperately asking each other what's happening to their plane. If that recovery sounds miraculous, it was only a reprieve. The propeller settles again, but now its blades have locked into something close to a reverse pitch angle, the kind normally used to slow a plane down after landing. In the air, at altitude, this creates roughly 7 times the drag of a normal failed engine. The aircraft is now fighting an invisible anchor. The crew is flying over mountainous terrain, trying to limp toward Islamabad. But they're losing speed faster than they can compensate. They make the call no pilot wants to make over high terrain, a controlled descent, hoping to trade altitude for airspeed and somehow keep the plane flying long enough to find a clear path through the peaks. Stall warnings begin sounding. The crew calls multiple maydays, requesting priority landing, but they are still many minutes from any runway. The captain spots a mountain ahead and wrenches the controls right to avoid it, succeeding for a moment, only for the aircraft to drift left again, fighting the same invisible drag the whole time. Terrain warnings blare. The crew holds on, trying to balance altitude against speed that simply will not stop draining away. At roughly 850 feet above the ground, the left wing finally gives out completely. The aircraft rolls hard left one last time and goes down into the hillside near the town of Aviation. All 47 people on board are lost. Villagers nearby rush toward the wreckage, but the fire is too intense to get close. It takes Pakistan's military, helicopters, and local search teams working through the night and into the next day to recover everyone. It would take investigators nearly 4 years to fully explain what happened, because nothing about this failure matched any prior case involving this aircraft type anywhere in the world. What they eventually pieced together was not one failure, but 3, stacked on top of each other. First, a turbine blade inside the failed engine had a known weakness. The manufacturer had even issued a service bulletin a year earlier, warning operators to replace blades once they passed 10,000 flight hours. This aircraft's blades had exceeded that limit. Workers had the engine apart for an unrelated repair just days before the crash, the perfect opportunity to swap them out, and didn't. Second, a safety governor meant to control propeller speed had been improperly reassembled at some point during prior maintenance, snapping a critical pin and setting up the runaway propeller scenario. Third, that mystery debris clogging the feathering system, likely introduced during a previous parts installation with no clear record of when or by whom. 3 separate, unrelated maintenance lapses, none catastrophic on its own, together lethal. Investigators didn't stop at the mechanics. They found the airline's maintenance reliability for this engine and aircraft type was measurably worse than the rest of the world's fleet, even compared to airlines flying in similarly tough environments. They found weak oversight from the National Aviation regulator, gaps that had gone unaddressed for years. They even uncovered unrelated questions about how some pilot licenses had been issued, though notably, the crew's actual performance during the emergency was found to match their training. This otherwise highly skilled crew had simply been handed a problem that nobody had ever trained them to solve. In the years following, the airline's chairman resigned. His successor stepped in. The country grounded its turboprop fleet for inspections, and Pakistan eventually created an entirely new independent body to investigate future air accidents, separate from the regulator it used to answer to. Flight 661 wasn't brought down by one obvious mistake. It was brought down by silence. Small, unnoticed failures sitting quietly inside a machine for months, maybe years, until physics finally connected them into one impossible situation. The aircraft's manufacturer would go on to study this exact failure mode so that, if it ever happened again, pilots somewhere would finally know what they were fighting. If you found this breakdown valuable, subscribe for more deep dives into the aviation disasters that quietly reshaped how planes are built, inspected, and flown.